2025 has been a little bit different in the San Diego real estate market compared to what we've seen in the past. Today, we got my business partner, Mr. Cassidy Lewis, on, and he's out with clients a lot. He's always chat with clients. He is like our clientele specialist. So we're going to get his point of view and what's going on in the San Diego real estate market. We have 6 questions we're going to fire at him and see what he comes up with. So we're going to dive in. First question. Okay. What are you currently seeing in the San Diego market that buyers and sellers need to know right now?
So sellers, I mean, there are different stories for each, obviously. I think for the first time in a long time, we're starting to see longer days on market. So sellers, it's even more important than it has been in a long time. Condition needs to be dialed in before you go to market. And that list price needs to be a little bit more aggressive, meaning not reaching for the stars as much, being a little bit more closer to market value. Otherwise, it's potentially going to sit a little bit longer. On that same side, for the sellers, buyers are more picky. I mean, that's what it comes down to when you're paying, almost 7% for an interest rate. When there's a little bit more on the market to take a look at, we're seeing buyers have, we're getting feedback like not quite enough square footage, or yards just a little too small, or something like that, where in the past feedback didn't even matter because the houses were selling so quickly and all that. So just seeing it be a little bit more of a buyer's market than we have in a while. So for buyers, it means you have more to look at, more to choose from in most neighborhoods. And, you're not just running in, checking it out real quick and having to make a decision. You can think about it. You can let a weekend go by without having to rush and write an offer.
Yeah, it's still always time is of the essence. Like when we're working with buyers, we're always like, get in that first weekend. Like we just had some clients who did get in escrow on a property. There was actually 4 offers on the property, and it did come on that first weekend. So there are still places where that is happening. Yeah. But all in all, yeah, it's definitely more of a, like we mentioned in a lot of these past videos, it's definitely not quite there yet, but skewing a little bit more towards buyers where they're not necessarily having the upper hand, but they have a little bit of time to ponder it, I guess. Not the frenzy that we've seen before. So with the current market trends, as far as inventory is rising, the median sales price is actually still going up. I think it's about 2% above where it was last year. Mm-hmm. What advice would you have someone looking to buy in San Diego this year? And should they be looking in like particular areas or particular properties? Is there any opportunities out there for buyers?
So I think some of that inventory that's starting to just sit a little bit longer is in that higher price point. So if you're looking kind of in that second to third tier of price points for San Diego, there's some opportunity there. The one, you mentioned the one that had 4 offers on it, that was under $900,000. So that is still a really competitive price point, especially for a detached house. So not a ton of opportunity in that price point. You just see it a little bit more in that kind of that next step. And just advice for buyers is be open to some more areas. So like that's our clients who were looking and got into a escrow this week. They were open to a handful of different areas and then kind of just whittled it down from there, rather than sticking all their eggs in one basket and saying, hey, we need to be in this exact neighborhood, in this exact city. Just having a little bit of flexibility, giving yourself a little bit more to see, I think is really kind of a key too.
Yeah, having that a little bit. And we're always like, narrow down your search. It's a process of elimination, but we've been seeing people who are open to a few different areas, especially since we work with a lot of people relocating out here. On our other channel, it's specifically targeting people who are relocating. They maybe have stayed at an area, maybe have known of a specific area, but once they get out here, we're kind of going up through the map, showing them different areas and like opening their eyes to like, well, if you like this place might work as well. And us as locals too, lifelong locals, you kind of get stuck in your little bubble where you're like, I want to live in this specific neighborhood, this specific area, which is cool, but then that's just really going to narrow down your search, the number of homes you're going to see, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult for purchasing a home once you get super specific. I mean, people do it, great. We do it. We help clients every day, every week who do that. But yeah, there is a little opportunity if you do expand. So,
well, at the beginning of this year, remember when there was a ton of inventory in Cardiff? Like, it just seemed like Cardiff houses were sitting a couple extra weeks. There was a ton to see. And I just jumped on a call with some clients about a week ago and pulled up Cardiff on our search tool, and there was nothing left. So if you are just narrow to like one city specifically and you need to find something, that can definitely narrow your search a bit.
Yeah. So as someone who's out with clients every day, let's go with one common mistake for sellers and one common mistake you've seen with buyers out there?
So I think the common mistake, I mean, we talk about price point being a marketing tool. So I definitely think that common mistake for sellers, and it has been for a long time, obviously in 2021 to maybe beginning of 2023, didn't matter as much, that price point. But when you're in a little bit more of a normal market, it is really tough to shoot too high and then recover from that. So I think that's definitely something that sellers we see it a lot. We see a lot of the houses that we see that are on the market now for 14, 20, 30, 45 days. They might be at market price now, but they didn't start at market price. And then on the buying side, this has been a thing forever. And it doesn't really matter what the market's like, but not having your financing set up and dialed in before starting to look at houses. Not only to like dial in like what you should actually be looking at price point wise, so you don't get your hopes up when you see something that turns out you can't afford, but also just being able to jump. You never know when you're going to find that house that checks all the boxes. And if you see that house, you want to make an offer on it, and then all of a sudden you have to get all your paperwork together and you have to get everything dialed in. Obviously we have our lenders can get all of that done really quickly, but it's up to our clients also to get their stuff together quickly. So that's one thing that I just pound home, that you just really need to get that taken care of. I suggest even before you start, like when you're getting your search initially set up, have those initial talks, and you don't have to get a pre-approval until you're actually ready to start going out and seeing property.
Yeah, and that pre-approval too, it's when you're talking with the lender, it might even be a number you're like, whoa, I'm pre-approved to that much, but doing the math backwards and going, okay, well, I'm approved to that much doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend that much, right? It's like, come back to the level that you're comfortable with, the monthly payment that you're comfortable with. Just even though like you're approved to 1.3, maybe you're more comfortable at that $1 million mark. So going through all that, but getting all that done up front is the best way to go about it. Just so you have that mindset, like Cassie said, where you're like looking at homes that you can actually get into. Maybe you are approved for more, but comfort level, you're like, I'm in more of that $1 million home, and you're actually looking at those $1 million homes. So question number 4, it kind of ties into what you just mentioned, but what are you recommending for seller strategies right now? You mentioned pricing, so maybe get into how are we pricing homes, or how are we helping, because clients are ultimately the ones that are making the choice of where they want to list their home. We're out there giving our best, indication of where current market value is. But maybe go through that real quick, just for a seller out there, that strategy of actually pricing the home.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, we're going to provide all the information, right? We're going to provide a CMA that shows what all the comps around are selling for, especially like some of the neighborhoods that we work in. We have a listing coming up in San Alejo Hills. It's very obvious and easy to find kind of where you should be price point wise, just based on comps and model matches. That's the easiest way to do it. But really it comes down to why you're selling. So if you are selling because you need to move for work and it's got to be quick and you got to be gone and out of the house, we always kind of err on the side of let's maybe put it right at market, maybe a little bit under market. That gets you that speedy sale. Where if you're looking to maximize for a next step up, if you're trying to sell and buy, kind of listing it to not over market, but just kind of a little bit more aggressive to be able to maximize sale. It might take longer. That's the big thing, is when you're trying to get a little bit more money, you're sacrificing time. And when your timing is the most important thing, you're sacrificing maybe a little bit of money. And so that's just one of those things to kind of keep in mind. And there is that sweet spot where you can get it sold quickly, and you can, if it's dialed in and ready to go, sometimes you can get both.
The next question, it kind of goes back to, you mentioned there's potentially price points where there's some opportunities as far as maybe they're moving a little slower, maybe the market times are up, there's a little more inventory. Are there any specific areas that you've noticed when we're working with clients out there as far as opportunities or places to get better deals right now? Or does it really just come down to price points, time on market, et cetera?
Some of the spots where you can get inventory, it's not specific areas, but like we're seeing in older neighborhoods, you have a little bit more opportunity, even in some of the higher price point older areas, like North Carlsbad, kind of built in the 80s. Those houses tend to sit a little bit longer than like the really dialed in ones from the early 2000s. Some of that is like, have they been completely remodeled? Have they had systems updated? All of that. So there's definitely opportunity everywhere if you're looking to put in some work. The houses that are dialed in clean are selling quickly. The houses that are, maybe need to be painted, or maybe need new air conditioning and furnace, or things like that, we're seeing those sit a little bit longer. So, maybe you can get a deal on that. Yes, you have to put in some money afterwards, but so we're seeing that kind of as a normal trend. But some areas, I mean, there's still some spots in Vista that are definitely up and coming, or here. I don't know. What do you say? They're either here or up and coming.
Where in Vista?
Then, yeah. Vista just always has some areas that just. Shadow Ridge is obviously well known, but then even like the foothills, I think, is some a place that's been more and more desirable. People tend to want more space now, and a lot of the newer developments, you're getting a big house but not a big lot.
And then how about for home buyers right here in San Diego? How have the interest rates been affecting them? We're seeing more buyers. You mentioned there's a little bit less competition, so that would kind of go less buyers. Yeah. How is the interest rates? Have we seen a number where there's more buyers hopping into the market, where like they are now maybe slowing down a little bit?
The number is definitely 7% right now. That's been kind of the spot where if it goes over, we see things kind of start to slow and less buyers out there. When it creeps under, we see a little bit more action. Kind of stalls out a little bit though, like once people realize that it might just stick right there and not continue on that downward trend. But we definitely see when that fluctuates, when it does go back over 7, or if it kind of gets closer to 7, we do see some buyers kind of pull out of the market. I definitely think like if we get back down into the low 6s, we're going to definitely see a lot more buyers out there. It's just when that happens. We'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yep. Yeah. It's been that 7% mark. The market's still moving, but not as fast as it was. People are a little more comfortable with 7%. That's like been the norm for right around the last year. You have some ups, some downs, but a lot of that, once it did get to that 6.5%, you see the market pick up a little bit, and we shall see where that goes. Obviously, we don't predict interest rates here, but we do keep a close eye on them. And since we're out there every day, we're going to share with you guys what we're seeing out there in the San Diego real estate market. So if you are thinking about making a move, whether you're buying or selling, feel free to reach out. Actually, we want you to reach out, call, text, or email. All of our info is in the description below. Let's start that conversation and dive into your specific situation and see how we could help, because we got your back when making the move here in San Diego.